So welcome to this Q&A session about Zovu, Frontline Stories of Climate and Social Justice. We will be introducing the project and letting you know about the type of applicants that are eligible for this and letting you know a little bit more about the application process, and you can put your questions to us right after this presentation. I'm going to start by explaining a little bit who we are. Action for Sustainable Development is a civil society network of other 3,300 members in 165 countries working on sustainable development and climate change. Many of you must be members already. You know that we have an extensive network, but a small secretariat with a few people working part-time, and I'm working full-time as a network officer. And Oli Henman, who is in the call today as well, is the global coordinator for the network. For Zovu, we have gathered a tiny group of members who we are calling the advisory group. They advise on the strategy and the design of the program. This group is made up of Esonglan Peresi from Togo, Adrian Watson from Jamaica, who is here with us today as well, Dari Santos from Brazil, and Sia Urreman from Pakistan. The four of them are activists who have been involved in climate initiatives, so it is essential for us to have their input on the program. Zovu is supported by the Climate Justice Resilience Fund, who makes it possible for us to have this project all together. I'm now gonna pass the mic on to Adrian, who is here to let us know a little bit more about the project. Adrian, please.
Okay, thanks for handing over, Clara. So basically, Zovu is all about finding the truth and trying to get communities to tell their own truth. The word is taken from how do you pronounce the EU language from Togo and sorry, someone's mic is on. Okay, thanks. So basically, we're trying to get persons to highlight stories from around the globe, from their own local grassroots community, and showing how climate issues and social issues are affecting their local community, and basically giving the chance for local people to show the power of change and the kind of activism and change that can come from the bottom up, using a very sustainable model for frontline activists. The broader objectives include to maintain a public spotlight on some of the issues that local people find important to highlight in their own communities and countries, and to promote and urge leaders to take action, basically, because these are information that the community finds very important in terms of providing change. So basically, we're going to, in the first round, select for 20 participants to be supported for the production of multimedia content, of stories that provide change, whether it is that you're highlighting an issue in your community, and also the solutions that you have promoted. So participants will take the lead in designing the stories on the ground, because we believe that you are the best person to craft that story, and you're the best person to tell that story. We'll be trying to provide a US $500 grant that will be made available for equipment, software, technical support to produce the stories. So basically, whilst it's only $500, it's really support to make sure that your stories are told, because hey, which activist doesn't need a little help, right? We'll also be providing some background information in terms of technical support, in terms of how you can also tell your story in an impactful way. and also create the short documentary video in a clear, concise way that can be shared around the globe for better impact. We'll also be sharing it on our website and social media, and helping you with the editing process for a local and international audience that can be streamed around the world. The content will be promoted by our A4SD website, and include a dedicated page to your particular project. So for example, I'm an urban beekeeper, and I'm looking at doing something around helping young women and men to get a skill. And if I wanted to create a video around that, this is what that program would be for, because it's both a social justice and a climate change kind of project. And so this is the kind of story that if I wanted to tell that story, this project is here to support that kind of storytelling. So who qualifies for this? We have basically opened it up to a wide range of applicants, the full gamut. NGOs, individual social and environmental entrepreneurs, community-based organizations, non-registered movements, because we know that some youth movements are also facing this issue, and individual activists who have a proven track record of social and climate justice. They must, however, be based in the global south. This means developing nations in Latin America and the Caribbean, sub-Saharan Africa, the MENA region, Asia, Middle East and North Africa, Pacific and non-EU or European countries. And we found this very important to include a wide gamut, because these are some of the most impacted regions. Their project must be on social justice or climate justice. It has to be very clear when you're signing up. Our working languages for A4SD and this project includes English, French, Spanish, and Portuguese. So if you speak none of these languages, you may need to find some support in terms of helping us to spread your message across to the globe. People of any age can apply. We have no restrictions on that gamut. So any age ranges, we're not non-discriminatory with that. Members don't need to formally register an organization in their own country to apply. Like I said, from anywhere from individuals to registered entities can apply. So basically, the process of application is you go on our website, a4sd.org/Zovu. You fill out the application form. It's pretty simple and easy because I've taken a look at it myself. And the deadline is November 30. We will go through several rounds of applications because we're anticipating quite a few applications. And we'll be using that time to distill down to 20, hopefully spread across all geographic regions mentioned. And you will hear back from us by January 31st, 2021, because it's a global competition. And we'll need some time to assess. Thank you. So if you have any questions, Clara, Ollie, and I will be here to answer your much anticipated questions.
Thank you, Adrian. That was very useful. I don't know if there are any initial questions, reaction, any particular ideas to share about your applications already. Oh, I think Arjun has raised their hand.
Okay, thank you, Clara and Oli. We understand it's very important this kinds of research you are doing and your policy. And my question actually, I think we need a bit like clear. I think I still am not visiting the website. Maybe you will upload details in the website. Has like how long the video or documentary and the like the any paper or case study. So I think need bit clear about that. Then it will be easy to produce the materials. And also is there any academic background for the participants? So this is my two questions. So what is the structure like? If we need a case study, so uh, like how long it will be, and then the documentary how long. So is there any limitation, or can you make clear, or it will become later on? Thank you.
Thanks. Yeah, very important question, Arjun. Thank you. About the second question, which was about the academic background, I think, or the expertise of the organization. There is a question in the application form around whether applicants have already have any media expertise or content production expertise. This we just do it to understand the kind of capacity that a team has, but this is not essential or necessary for the application process. It's just that we want to understand it. No other academic or background expertise in media or content production is needed, but all of the applicants that approach us for this project may share, for example, their social media profiles or other content that is out there on their application. That is also good for us to understand the type of initiative that you are working on. In regard to the length of the materials that will be produced, so the content and the approach is not fixed. It will depend on the different needs of each of the participating movements. So there might be the case that a certain organization is a local organization working on directly with local policymakers, let's say, or on a project, say, about extractivism or biodiversity that affects them directly and is threatening the sustainability and the social justice aspects of a certain community. Maybe in the case of this participant, what would be interesting for them maybe would be to have a strong campaign in national media or in local media, and they would like to know how to write op-eds or to do stories for those kind of mediums, so that ultimately the local policymakers change their approach and the way the project that is affecting this community. In the case of maybe a wider, more general movements, let's say of young people who are trying to get others to understand how they can personally have an impact and to prevent climate change, for example, and they want to share tips and tricks, maybe a campaign on social media would be something that is more interesting with them, with short videos, with maybe graphics or something like that. So yeah, we are not fixated on a certain format, length, or type of story. A fundamental part of the process of the participants would be to first assess what their organization's goals and what their initiative goals are, and how this storytelling program can support that. So the process will be tailored to each person. I don't know if this answers your question.
Yeah, I got a point. Yeah. So is the both eligible? Yeah, the person as well as the organization. It's depend on the case. Yeah. Also
Exactly, it will be dependent on what they would like. Oli, would you add something?
Yeah, thanks, Clara, and hi everyone. I think this is a really exciting project, and just on that question that Arjun has raised, I mean the idea for this project really came about because of all the work that we've already been doing on the Week of Action, and the fact that we have this global Week of Action, you know, every year in September, which I know you've been involved with in Nepal and other colleagues on this call as well. And we realized that having just that one-off moment once a year was not really sufficient to give people the longer-term kind of profiling that they might want to actually raise their projects, to be able to share their projects more widely. So the idea is a bit like we have in the Week of Action, that we then can promote what is already happening on the ground. There are so many incredible stories within our networks. And as Adrian has said, it's not to start a new project, but rather it's to share your existing story of change. And we will help you to communicate that in whichever way is most appropriate, as Clara says, depending on the kind of audience you're trying to reach and the right kind of medium that would work for that audience. And so it will be a process of working together. And I think, again, coming back to something Adrian mentioned before, we're hoping that this is the beginning of a new space on the website that will continue to grow. And so these first 20 are the kind of pilot projects, but over time we would love to feature all of, 3,000, all 3,000 of our members could have their own page, and that would allow more visibility to what's happening on the ground and ultimately to bring funds to those projects. And so the sort of later stage would be that we're looking at how we then tie in potential for crowdfunding to support those projects more in the future. So that's the kind of where we want to get to, and it's very much coming from that sort of idea of building this together with all of you over the coming months.
Yeah. Hello.
Yes, Tola, please come in.
Yes. Thank you very much. Thank you, Clara, for explanation concerning Zovu. I just wanted to ask, the focus of Zovu is climate and social justice. Now, is it possible for a coalition to actually go in to bid in for the two? One for climate justice, the other one for social justice, bearing it in mind that a coalition may have as many NGOs as possible under it, and they are working in different thematic areas. So is it possible now for such a coalition to now bid for climate justice, then bid for social justice at the same time? Thank you.
Yes, great question, Tola. I would say this is the first time that we get such a question, so it's interesting to think about it. I would say yes, of course, we're open to receiving applications from coalitions, especially considering that what we are looking for, or what we are most interested in, are projects that are looking at climate and social justice from an intersectional perspective. So yes, definitely. The only thing, one of the conditions, as it has been explained by Adrian, is that the projects must be already ongoing. So Zovu will not support projects that don't yet have outcomes that leaders can yet speak of, or a story to articulate. So provided that it is a project that has already a little bit of a journey and can make up a story, yeah, that would be good. So all ideas are welcome, and you can approach us with more particular questions or ideas if you have.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah. Adrian, did you want to add something around that?
Yeah, just to help answer the question, we don't see it as two different columns, social justice versus climate change. So for example, if you're a coalition that is working in one community, but from a social justice or a climate change perspective, what you can possibly do, and here's an idea, you can possibly link the two projects in terms of, and being able to tell the story to say, okay, like for example, I'm the head of GENE. We have two missions, environmental advocacy and entrepreneurial advocacy. If we're doing a project in the same community in two different areas, we can show how GENE is working in that community from a climate perspective and from a social justice perspective. And we combine the stories to say that we're creating sustainable change. And then we can do a joint application that way. If you're an activist, working on social justice issue and another one working on climate justice issue in the same region, you can choose if you want to combine that application and tell your stories together. So we're not restricting you in any way. It's just to try and build your capacity to tell your story.
Okay. Anyway, sometimes when you look at the issue of social justice, It could be in the area which may not necessarily be connected with climate justice. For example, what we are experiencing in Nigeria now is a repression of civil society's voice. They don't want us to be heard. And that's why we just campaigned not long on SARS, End SARS campaign, in which some of us were killed. And we are crying for justice.
Yes, so the idea there maybe would be to...
There's a need for government to bring those people there. Look at that, then you see that one way it's a social justice, but then it doesn't necessarily deal with the issue of...
Tola, I think you're breaking up a bit, but I think we might have understood what you meant with your question. Adrian, do you want to get back to Tola?
Yeah, that idea sounds like it could qualify for this, because you can tell the story together as a climate and social justice, or if you want to focus on social justice alone, or if you want to focus on climate justice alone, you will have to make that decision. Just hearing that story, for me, already got me interested, right? But I'm a graphic learner, so if you wanted to tell that story more impactful to me as a Jamaican, it would be nice for me to see what you mean by you are having your voices suppressed. So if you could tell that story through pictures, if it's too dangerous for you to take videos, if you could tell it through videos, if it's not too dangerous for you to do that kind of thing, then for me as a very visual learner, that already would help cement in my mind what you mean by voice suppression in your country. So already I'm just hearing it, already gets me interested.
I think Tola dropped, but Oli, do you want to add something for the other attendees to understand?
Yeah, it's a shame that yeah, you're right. It looks as if Tola has dropped off, but we can also follow up. It looks like Tola's coming back in, and I also see, I think Tony Mbane is also from Nigeria, and I recognize that the situation at the moment. Tola, you're back. We recognize,
Yes.
We recognize the situation is very challenging at the moment in Nigeria, and of course that is a crucial story. The only thing I would say for this particular project is, you know, we do have to have in mind that this is really about the intersection with climate. And so if it is something that's more on the civic space side, I mean, there are other funds out there that Civicus and others are involved with, which is more specifically on the civic space question. This one is a different focus. It would be a shame, I think, if it's only civic space. It has to show what is the link with climate. So it might be, for example, Tola, that you have some activists working on the ground who are challenging the oil industry, for example, in certain parts of Nigeria. I know that's an issue that's come up. And if those activists are being directly persecuted or have had their rights undermined, then you would have a clear link, because these are activists who are also fighting on climate change related issues. So it's finding those connections that I think would be important.
Okay, that's right. Very useful. Thanks.
That's great.
Tony, did you want to ask a question or make a comment?
No, I don't want to ask a question, Master. Oli just explained. It's very, very clear and straightforward. We have a lot of civil issues here in Nigeria, but I can understand Group T2. So I'm fine. I don't have any question.
Okay, good. Great. And anyone else? I just mentioned a point that I think we haven't insisted on enough in the presentation, and it came out in the previous sessions as well. For this project, we will be prioritizing initiatives that are led by Firstly, led by members of the communities that they are meant to be helping. And secondly, that they are led by traditionally marginalized folks. Let's say we're thinking about women, young people, disabled folks, and so on and so on. It depends. The oppression depends on each context. So we will taking that into it. We will be taking that into account. But yes, it is important for us that if there's a submission about a project that is working with youth, it is important that young people are leading it, and those types of initiatives will be prioritized. The idea behind this is to provide space for people who traditionally haven't been able to take up that space because they haven't been allowed to. So, yeah. If you are interested in sharing this opportunity, please do so. We would appreciate it very much, because we are trying to get this opportunity to reach as many communities as possible and to feature those activists that traditionally do not have access to these types of opportunities. So the more extensively you can share this, this call for applications, the better. We are really hoping to seeing what folks really do at the front lines, because we are sure that their approaches are fantastic and they're just very far away from the public eye. And these are the kind of stories that we want to feature. Just one detail, just a minor technical aspect about applying. In order to apply, one of the eligibility criteria is that you have to be an A4SD member. So anyone who applies must become a member just before. It is very simple to become a member. You can fill in a form and you will be part of our membership. The form can be found in the contact section of our website, a4sd.org, and just click on the contact section and you will see the membership form there. And just after filling it, you can apply for Zovu. I think there is someone there who has a question. Name says Galaxy S9. Hello?
We can see a hand raised. Yeah, go ahead. Someone under Galaxy S9.
Yes. Hello. Hi.
Hello.
This is Mary. Yeah, this is Mary from Rwanda Women Network. Thank you for having invited us to join this conversation. I just have one or two questions about. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
I have one or two questions.
Great that you joined. Thank you, Mary.
Yes. Yeah. So one question is about membership. You talked about those who are eligible must be members. I'm not sure whether we are yet, but I know we've been in touch at some point, and there has been interest for us working with the SDG 5 Forum in Rwanda to really be part of this action network. So I'm not sure whether we're eligible to apply. Maybe I'll be advised on that. And then secondly, you talk so much that only 20 participants will be able to benefit from this initiative. Did I hear it correctly? And you are saying this must be led by members who are being helped. Certain members who are being helped, you know, the major work that you are trying to do as a grassroots women organization is to really bring the voices from the base to the national, regional, and then globally. But you find that there is a lot of capacity building that is so much required, especially in the storytelling. And I'm glad you are focusing on that, because that focus is what will actually be able to bring us into the actual mentorship role that we try to play. But if we expect at this level, grassroots to be able to visibly bring out their story. Yes, they have a story and they're very powerful, but they will bring it in a language that might not be understood. So I'm wondering if this fund is going to be able to support us you know, to do the translation, to do all the technical work that will be involved in the process. Can you enlighten us a bit around that?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for these relevant questions. Firstly, regarding the membership issue, yes, I understand that some people might not be sure if they are members or not, or if their membership is formalized. If you have any questions around that, please write to us on info@actionforsd.org. And through that email address, through our regular email address, we will be able to check whether you are a member or not. And if you're not, you can easily become one. Secondly, regarding the capacity building and the language issue. So yes, of course, as we were saying earlier, projects that are led by members of the communities that they are about and who are the protagonists of those initiatives will be prioritized. And in terms of language, of course, having content translated or subtitled is a possibility if this project requires it. We can figure it out in each case how we can do that and what's the best approach to do that, but translating is useful. We spoke of 4 languages that are the working languages of this project. This is just because it is the languages that the team can speak, and we need focal points for each initiative to be able to communicate with us in those languages, but it doesn't mean that the content production cannot happen in another language. If the participating team wants to produce something in, let's say, Arabic, because they want to produce some content for an Arabic speaking audience, that is possible. We just need to be able to communicate with a single person with a focal point in one of our working languages. So Arabic or whatever other language, that is completely possible, and translating is possible as well. I don't know if this answers your question or if you have further info.
Yes, it answers me.
Okay. Oli, Adrian, did you want to add something?
No, I'm just seeing Tola's question in the chat. He says, don't you think the 20 is not too small? And I was thinking the project is just starting out. So we want to be able to prove that this is a success story. Once we have done that, we ourselves, we can scale out the amount of numbers. I think Ollie said that he wanted to be able to show that this works, where the 3,000 members of A4SD can get their own stories out eventually. But we have to start somewhere, and usually our beginnings are usually very small. I can tell you, coming from a small island developing state, that is known for very big personalities, we too start everything small, right? Reggae from my home country started out with just 5 people. Now it's a global phenomenon. So think of this project in the same way, very small, but very impactful.
I love that reggae reference. Absolutely. We can be the Bob Marleys of the NGO world. I think it's a good question though, both from Tola and also from Mary. I think that the point that we're trying to get across is that this is the beginning of something, and that we need to spend a little bit of time also developing the systems behind the scenes. And so with these first 20, we'll also be improving on the website and creating the space on the website so that each of those initiatives will have their own space. Over time, ideally, we'd like to get to a place where, as we said, all of our members could have their own page on the website that they themselves can come in and edit, and they can then have that visibility. They can have that window out to the rest of the world. And as I said, we hope that would also bring funds over time. So we're just trying to build up that infrastructure to allow for that. And I think, what I would encourage, Tola, Arjun, Mary, all of you, you have your fantastic networks to really identify from within your networks, which do you see as the kind of 2 or 3 most inspiring examples to test out at this phase. So don't necessarily think that it has to be everyone straight away, but within your networks, I'm sure you have an idea of some of the ones that are really ready to share their story. So that would be what I would encourage you to think about.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Thank you very much.
I see you have asked if geographical distribution is going to be of great importance. So yes, the final selection of applicants, we want to ensure that it is as diverse as it can be, both in terms of the approaches and the type of stories that they want to tell. And secondly, in diversity of the leaders, that they are different types of people, and definitely we are looking for diversity in geographically. So we will pick folks from all of the different subregions, and that is going to be important. Is there a template you ask? I don't know if you're asking for the application form or.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The application form, or which kind of template were you interested in?
I'm wondering if, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. I'm wondering if we visit your website, whether it's where we are going to pull either the application form or the template. Is there an application form that is on website that will guide us in filling our in our application?
Yes, I have just copied into the chat box the link to the application form. You can find it there, and you can just delete it and share. Okay. You will find more information about this application form on actionforsd.org/Zovu.
Okay.
Next, Mariam is asking if the participating team consists of 2 local organizations and NGOs, is this allowed? Oli or Adrian, do you want to answer that?
So I mean, as far as whether it's allowed to apply, yes, I mean, that would be okay. The question really is whether that's the kind of thing that would be the most likely to succeed. I think what we're looking for, ideally, is projects that are genuinely being led by one of those communities, as Clara has highlighted. So I think it's okay if there's a team around them, but I would suggest that when you come to apply, you really need to emphasize who is or which is the main project that you're looking to showcase, who are the individuals involved, what is their personal story. That really should be at the heart of what you're applying for. If there are other NGOs in a supportive role, that's fine, and I'm sure that will happen. But it's more that the focus of the project and the story needs to be clearly a frontline voice. That would be my advice.
Mm.
Also, I know what tends to happen in Jamaica here is that we have NGOs that are also CBOs, which all right, I'm using acronyms. So NGOs that are community-based organizations, like we have quite a few farmers groups that are registered as NGOs. So they are from the community and they are doing action on behalf of the community. So if they have partnered on a project that tells the story of the community in terms of climate and social justice, activism, and solution design, then for me, that is okay.
Great, thanks, Mariam. Mariam has another question. What is the admission criteria to be among the selected participants? Yes, we have 4 main criteria that we'll be scoring all the applications under. Firstly, we will look at the effectiveness and the relevance of the initiative. So firstly, that the initiative is well explained in the application, that it touches upon the themes that we have been speaking about today, and that it works on these themes in a relevant way. Secondly, we will be looking at the innovation and boldness of the initiative. By innovation, we are not only considering initiatives that work with technology. This is often the case when we speak about innovation. We also welcome initiatives that work with technology, but we are considering innovation in a very broad sense. So if an initiative is bringing in a topic to a community where it has never been brought in before, or if a community is using a traditional approach, but to introduce new concepts, that will be considered as innovative. Thirdly, we will look at, as I said earlier, the inclusion efforts made by the leading team. So how inclusive is this team that puts applicants in a better position. And fourth, we will be looking at the capacity and the commitment we will be more like looking specifically at the commitment to carry out this project. I don't know if those four are clear. I will copy them into the chat box anyway, because it's a bit long. So.
And I think it's also worth just reminding, and I think it was in one of the other questions, that we will be looking, I think Clara's already mentioned that we'll be looking for a good spread between the different regions. So it's likely there would be, for example, 3 or 4 from Latin America, 3 or 4 from the African continent, 3 or 4 from the Asia region, a few from the smaller islands in the Pacific, as well as the Caribbean. So we have that spread and making sure that we're covering all those different regions. So it'd be really important to identify, that balance. And so even if your project doesn't make it through in this first round, as we said before, there'll be other opportunities to continue to share that work in the coming months.
Tola is asking if this Zovu project is the same as the one being promoted by Civicus. I don't know what exactly you're talking about, but the Zovu is meant to appear on today's newsletter at Civicus. So maybe this is what you're asking about, I don't know. But in any case, it is not a project that we have in common with Civicus, but it has come out in their newsletter today, or it's about to come out in their newsletter today.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Great. Does anyone have any questions or comments?
Yeah, Clara.
Yes.
Yeah, so in order to allow for some of us who just got information about it, I don't know if it's possible that you extend the deadline. If it's possible, otherwise there's no point. Because we just got information about it just yesterday, and we attended this meeting to be part of it. So now the deadline is this month on the 27th or so. So if it's possible to extend it, I don't know. Otherwise, just go ahead.
We are in a little bit of a stretch because, as you can see, the scoring criteria are very complicated, and we have a lot of submissions already, and they will be really hard to score with the 4-person team and the advisory group. The deadline is now on the 30th. It has always been on the 30th. The project was announced almost 10 days ago. So this leaves another 2 weeks for folks to apply, and the application form itself is not very long. They also don't have to be applicants do not have to create a new project. They just have to write about projects that are already existing. So the process is not very complicated, and I'm sure that people will have enough time in 2 weeks to complete their applications.
I believe so. I believe so. I've never checked it, and I know. Once it doesn't involve project right now, we should be able to fill up the form. Thank you.
It's simple. Yeah, it should be fine.
Good.
Right. Anything else? All right. So I think if this is all, I think we can start to think about wrapping up. Adrian or Ollie, do you have any closing remarks or advice for applicants?
Back to you, Adrian.
Oh, I was going to say, any advice that I have to give is make sure that you you sell your story clear, concise, keep it local. Those who you are interviewing, if it's a video that you're doing, allow them to speak in their own languages, their own colloquial form of speaking. And we can clean up the translations after, as Clara said. Let your subjects be authentic in their movements and how they want to say certain things within general politeness, of course. Because I find stories like that, at least for me, is more impactful and it sells. And if you're using streams of images to tell your story, which is allowed as well, um try and get it in the best lighting possible, and in a more authentic, organic way.
Great. Arjun, did you want to come in with a
Yeah,
question or comment?
okay, just my suggestion, one thing is still, like, due to the COVID, it's still we have some limitation to go the field. So I'd like to request to consider somehow, like, because there's a very good story in the countryside, and but they still we cannot reach there. Only we have we can contact by phone, or we can and many part of the like country still there's not internet facilities. So but we'll do our best, only thing. So but you have to consider that fact. Thank you.
Yes, unfortunately, in order to get stories from certain communities, there will be challenges in reaching them due to connectivity issues. There are still 2 weeks left to apply. If you can share this opportunity with your networks and with people who you know might have connectivity challenges ahead of the deadline, please do so as soon as possible so that they have time to apply. And then we have the rest of the year next year to figure it out and to like slowly work with them on their stories and hopefully use the times where connection is better. So please do share as soon as possible so that it gets to those people who have connectivity issues, please.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted to add also that so at this stage we don't necessarily need the whole story within these 2 weeks. As Clara has said, it's quite a short kind of concept note at the moment, just a few kind of key ideas that you're looking to explore and who those communities are that are themselves going to then tell their story, and then the actual logistics of preparing the videos and so on, that's something we can then develop together in the new year. So don't feel you have to go out and capture those videos now in the middle of a lockdown. There will be time to do that work, to actually gather the video content a little bit later. The important thing is to identify where is the change happening? Who are the communities that are driving that change on the ground? And I think if you can help us to identify and share some of those change makers, that's really what we're aiming for here. And it's a really exciting project. So, I mean, and as we said earlier, we see this as the beginning of a way to work differently, to shift the power dynamics within civil society so that it's not just the big INGOs, but it's really the smaller community-based groups like the ones you work with who can then have that visibility and have that access themselves. So really looking forward to it. And yeah, from my side, thank you to everyone who's involved. And I think it's a great initiative. It's great to have people like Adrian who are giving so much of their time to help us to shape this, and looking forward to it. So thanks again.
All right. Thanks everyone for joining. If you have any further questions that you would like to ask, please use our email address info@actionforsd.org and we will be happy to answer. again, thank you for coming and taking the time to understand more about Zovu, and do share with partners and frontline activists that you know. We will be really, really happy to have them participate in this project. Thank you so much. Bye-bye. Take care and good luck with your applications.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.